17 Nicest Black Actors of Hollywood. What if some of Hollywood's biggest stars were even more extraordinary when the camera stopped rolling behind the Oscars? Blockbuster movies and unforgettable performances are stories of generosity that rarely received the same spotlight. Denzel Washington quietly helped a future superstar. Chadwick Boseman comforted sick children while fighting his own private battle. And Tyler Perry stepped in when struggling families needed help most. But which black actor showed the greatest kindness when no applause was guaranteed? Some of these stories may completely change how you see these legends. Stay until the end. Comment with the story that moved you most and subscribe to Golden Black Legends as we uncover the remarkable humanity behind Hollywood fame. Denzel Washington. Denzel Washington has spent more than 4 decades building one of Hollywood's most respected careers, but some of his most meaningful contributions happened far from movie cameras. Long before the Academy Awards and iconic performances in Glory, Malcolm X and Training Day, Washington was a young boy in Mount Vernon, New York, who found stability at his local Boys and Girls Club. That childhood experience stayed with him. As his fame grew, he became a national spokesperson for Boys and Girls Clubs of America, maintaining a relationship with the organization for decades and encouraging young people to value discipline, education, and responsibility. But perhaps the most remarkable example of Washington's generosity remained largely unknown until the person he helped became a superstar himself. While studying at Howard University, Chadwick Boseman and several classmates were accepted into a prestigious summer acting program at the British American Drama Academy in Oxford. The opportunity was extraordinary, but the students could not afford the cost. Their teacher, actress Phylicia Rashad, reached out to potential benefactors. Washington quietly stepped forward and helped finance the students' participation. Years passed before most of the public knew what he had done. Then came an unforgettable moment in 2019. While honoring Washington at the AFI Life Achievement Award ceremony, Boseman revealed the story publicly. The future Black Panther star credited Washington's generosity with helping open a crucial door in his development, famously connecting that opportunity to everything that followed. That story captures why Washington belongs on this list. His kindness was not about creating headlines, it was about creating opportunities. Sometimes the greatest gift isn't money itself. It is believing in someone before the rest of the world knows their name. Chadwick Boseman. Chadwick Boseman became a global symbol of strength through King T'Challa in Black Panther, yet one of the most moving parts of his legacy happened away from Wakanda and largely outside public view. In 2016, Boseman was diagnosed with colon cancer. He kept the diagnosis private, while continuing to work undergoing treatment during the same years that brought Marshall Black Panther, Avengers: Infinity War, and other major projects. What makes his story especially powerful is how he spent some of that difficult period. In 2018, Boseman visited St. Jude Children's Research Hospital, meeting young cancer patients and their families while privately confronting cancer himself. One patient, Zoe, was being treated for a brain tumor. She later remembered how his presence and encouragement gave her strength during treatment. The children had no idea that the superhero comforting them was fighting his own medical battle. That same year, Boseman won MTV's Best Hero Award. Instead of keeping the spotlight, he invited James Shaw Jr. onto the stage. Shaw had helped stop a gunman during the deadly Waffle House shooting in Tennessee. Boseman handed him the award, shifting attention from the actor who played a fictional hero to a man whose real-world courage had saved lives. Even near the end of his life, children remained on Boseman's mind. According to the transcript, one of his final messages to Black Panther producer Nate Moore concerned arranging toys and a personal message for a young cancer patient. Boseman died in August 2020 at only 43. Millions saw him as a superhero. The families he quietly encouraged discovered something even more meaningful. Behind the costume was a man giving hope while carrying an unimaginable burden of his own. Viola Davis. Before Viola Davis became an Oscar, Emmy, Tony, and Grammy winner, her childhood looked nothing like the success audiences would later witness. Raised in Central Falls, Rhode Island, Davis has spoken openly about living in severe poverty and experiencing hunger. She has recalled searching through garbage for food and stealing because there were moments when her family simply did not have enough to eat. Those memories did not disappear when Hollywood success arrived. Instead, they became one reason Davis chose to speak for children facing the same insecurity. In 2014, she became involved with the Hunger Is campaign, using her public platform to draw attention to childhood hunger. For Davis, the issue was never an abstract statistic. She understood what it meant for a child to sit in school while worrying about where the next meal would come from. In 2016, Davis helped promote the Hungry for More initiative, which aimed to provide 5 million additional breakfasts to children in need. According to the transcript, that target was subsequently reached and efforts continued toward another 5 million meals. Her generosity also returned to the community that shaped her. Davis supported efforts benefiting the Central Falls Public Library and her former high school's theater program. Through Juvie Productions, the company she founded with husband Julius Tennant, she has also worked to create space for stories and performers historically overlooked by Hollywood. What makes Davis's contribution especially moving is its connection to memory. She knows what an empty kitchen can mean because she once lived through it. Viola Davis transformed one of the most painful chapters of her childhood into a reason to help other children and turned personal hardship into something capable of feeding hope as well as bodies. Morgan Freeman. Morgan Freeman's calm voice and commanding presence have made him one of the most recognizable actors of his generation. From driving Miss Daisy and The Shawshank Redemption to his Academy Award-winning performance in $1 Million Baby, his career stretches across decades. But away from movie sets, Freeman has also directed attention toward humanitarian and community causes. One of his best-known philanthropic commitments has been connected to Mississippi, where he has maintained deep personal ties. After Hurricane Katrina devastated the Gulf Coast in 2005, Freeman helped organize charitable fundraising for disaster victims, using his celebrity to bring attention and financial assistance to communities facing enormous destruction. His generosity has also intersected with education. Freeman co-founded the Tallahatchie River Foundation, an organization associated with improving educational opportunities for children in Mississippi. Rather than focusing exclusively on Hollywood-centered causes, he has repeatedly invested attention in communities far removed from the entertainment industry. Another distinctive chapter of Freeman's philanthropy involves environmental conservation. He has supported efforts involving wildlife and natural ecosystems and famously converted part of his Mississippi property into a habitat for honeybees, highlighting concerns surrounding declining pollinator populations. There is an important accuracy distinction here. Unlike Chadwick Boseman, Viola Davis, and Octavia Spencer, Morgan Freeman was not one of the original 17 profiles in the supplied transcript. He was added to our revised list as a replacement for Oprah Winfrey. So these details come from Freeman's broader publicly documented philanthropic record rather than the transcript itself. That distinction does not weaken the larger point. Freeman's public service has extended beyond the screen through disaster relief education and environmental causes. Hollywood gave Morgan Freeman an extraordinary platform. Over the years, he has repeatedly found ways to direct part of that platform toward communities and causes that rarely receive anything close to Hollywood's spotlight. Octavia Spencer. Octavia Spencer knows what it means to spend years waiting for Hollywood to recognize your value. Long before winning an Academy Award for The Help, she worked through smaller roles while building a career that eventually included acclaimed performances in Hidden Figures and The Shape of Water. Perhaps that long road explains why some of her most memorable acts of generosity have centered on removing barriers for ordinary families. In January 2017, Spencer purchased every ticket for an evening screening of Hidden Figures at a movie theater in Baldwin Hills, Los Angeles. Families who otherwise could not afford admission were invited to watch free of charge. Spencer connected the gesture to her own childhood, explaining that her mother would not have been able to afford taking 7 children to a movie. The choice of film mattered. Hidden Figures celebrated Black women whose mathematical brilliance contributed to NASA's space program. Spencer was not simply giving children free entertainment, she was helping young viewers see Black women represented as scientists, mathematicians, and history makers. She repeated the idea in 2018, helping arrange a free Black Panther screening for children in an underserved Mississippi community. Then COVID-19 changed what communities needed. Spencer shifted her attention toward hospitals, donating respiratory monitoring technology to facilities in Alabama and New York, and later supporting Baptist Health in Montgomery with additional equipment and tablets. Her generosity is compelling because it is practical. Sometimes kindness means paying for a movie ticket. Sometimes it means providing medical technology during a frightening emergency. Octavia Spencer's actions show that generosity does not need one grand definition. It simply needs to reach someone at the moment when help matters most. Idris Elba. Idris Elba may be recognized around the world for The Wire, Luther and Mandela, Long Walk to Freedom, but some of his most meaningful work has taken place far from film sets. His connection to Sierra Leone, where his father was born, has helped shape years of humanitarian involvement focused on public health, rural communities, and young people facing violence. During the devastating 2014 Ebola outbreak, Elba used his international profile to demand greater attention for West Africa and recognize healthcare workers confronting the epidemic. His involvement did not end when the headlines faded. He later traveled to Sierra Leone with his wife Sabrina Daur, Elba meeting farming communities and listening to people struggling to rebuild economically after the crisis. In 2020, Idris and Sabrina became goodwill ambassadors for the United Nations International Fund for Agricultural Development. They helped promote an appeal for a $200 million emergency facility designed to protect rural communities from the economic effects of COVID-19. Related efforts focused on equipment, financial access, food systems, and helping farmers reach markets. Elba has also turned his attention toward knife violence in Britain. Through initiatives connected to the Elba, Hope Foundation and Don't Stop Your Future, he has worked to bring survivors, grieving families, community figures, and policymakers into conversations about prevention and opportunities for vulnerable young people. That combination makes his generosity especially significant. He has used fame not simply to donate, but to make neglected problems harder to ignore. For Idris Elba, kindness has meant returning to communities connected to his own story and using his voice so people without Hollywood's microphone can finally be heard. Lupita Nyong'o. Lupita Nyong'o became an Academy Award winner through 12 Years a Slave before reaching millions more through Black Panther, Us, and other major films. Yet behind the celebrated performances is a humanitarian record that stretches across maternal health, wildlife conservation, and perhaps most personally, the emotional well-being of Black children. One important chapter took Lupita to Uganda, where she became involved with Mother Health International. After visiting its birth center, she spoke publicly about the importance of providing women in vulnerable communities with safe and respectful maternity care. Her attention was directed toward mothers she might never personally know, but whose lives could depend on access to reliable care. Nyong'o has also served as a Wild Aid Global Elephant Ambassador. She traveled in Kenya, visited conservation initiatives and an elephant orphanage, and participated in campaigns encouraging consumers to reject ivory. The work connected protecting wildlife with the livelihoods of communities and conservation workers affected by poaching. But one of her most intimate contributions grew from her own childhood. Lupita has spoken openly about experiencing colorism and wishing her darker complexion looked different. Those memories inspired her children's book Sulwe, about a dark-skinned girl learning to recognize her own beauty and worth. In 2022, the Solvi Day initiative donated 60,000 copies of the book to children in underserved communities. For a child struggling with the same insecurities Lupita once experienced, that story could mean far more than another book on a shelf. Nyong'o's generosity shows that kindness can protect a mother, preserve an endangered animal, or simply help a child look into the mirror and believe that the face looking back is already worthy. Tyler Perry. Tyler Perry's enormous success can make it difficult to imagine how uncertain his life once was. Before creating Madea, building a film and television empire, and opening Tyler Perry Studios in Atlanta, Perry endured financial hardship and periods of homelessness. Those experiences appear repeatedly in the way he has responded to strangers struggling with bills, housing, food, and unexpected crises. One extraordinary example came before Christmas 2018. Perry paid approximately $434,000 to clear layaway balances for roughly 1,500 customers at 2 Walmart stores in the Atlanta area. Families arrived expecting to finish paying for Christmas purchases and discovered that almost the entire remaining burden had disappeared. Then COVID-19 created another emergency. In April 2020, Perry covered grocery bills for elderly and high-risk customers at 44 Kroger stores around Atlanta and 29 Winn-Dixie locations in Louisiana. These were people he would probably never meet. Some assistants remained much quieter. At a 2024 Paley Honors event, Oprah Winfrey described how Perry had provided financial, emotional, and psychological support to the Turpin siblings after their escape from years of severe abuse. He also offered help repairing an elderly Atlanta couple's home after they said a contractor had taken their money and abandoned the project. In 2021, the Academy presented Perry with the Jean Hersholt Humanitarian Award, recognizing his sustained humanitarian efforts. His studio represents extraordinary wealth and achievement. But for countless families, Perry's legacy may feel much simpler. Sometimes kindness is a grocery receipt marked paid, Christmas gifts finally coming home, or help arriving precisely when someone has stopped believing anyone is listening. Forest Whitaker. Forest Whitaker has portrayed some of cinema's most complicated characters, winning an Academy Award for The Last King of Scotland and earning acclaim through films including Bird the Butler and Black Panther. Away from acting, however, Whitaker has spent years working in communities where conflict and poverty can determine a young person's future before adulthood even begins. In 2012, he founded the Whitaker Peace and Development Initiative, commonly known as WPDI. Its approach differs from celebrity charity built around one-time donations. The organization trains young people in areas including conflict resolution, leadership, entrepreneurship, technology, and community development, giving participants tools to address problems where they live. Programs described in the transcript have operated in countries including Uganda, South Sudan, South Africa, Mexico, France, and the United States. Through its Youth Peacemaker Network, participants have learned to mediate disputes, create businesses, and develop projects responding to local challenges. Community learning centers have additionally offered educational and digital resources where violence or displacement restricted opportunity. Whitaker's commitment predates WPDI. In 2011, UNESCO appointed him a Goodwill Ambassador for Peace and Reconciliation, and he later served as a special envoy. His international work has included advocating for children affected by war and emphasizing education as part of lasting peace. What distinguishes Whitaker is the long-term nature of the mission. He is not simply arriving, writing a check, and disappearing. Forest Whitaker's approach asks a more powerful question. What if kindness means giving young people not temporary rescue, but the skills and authority to transform their own communities long after the celebrity has gone home? Michael B. Jordan. Michael B. Jordan's journey from young television actor to the star of Fruitvale Station, Black Panther, and the Creed franchise gave him something increasingly valuable in Hollywood: influence. Rather than using that influence only to expand his own career, Jordan began creating pathways for young people who lacked the connections normally required to enter entertainment. In 2019, Jordan launched the Outlier Society Fellowship in partnership with the Obama Foundation's My Brother's Keeper Alliance. The program offered paid internships and mentorship to Los Angeles residents between 18 and 24 who were interested in film, television, media marketing, and the arts. That word, paid, matters. Hollywood internships can favor young people whose families can afford to support months of unpaid work. By combining professional experience with compensation guidance and industry connections, the fellowship addressed a practical barrier that can prevent talented people from ever reaching their first opportunity. Jordan also pushed for greater inclusion behind the camera. In 2018, his production company Outlier Society announced that it would use inclusion riders on its projects, encouraging broader representation among casts and crews. Instead of limiting diversity to speeches and interviews, Jordan attempted to connect those principles to actual hiring practices. The transcript describes his larger goal as helping others stand on his shoulders and eventually reach further than he had. That may be one of Hollywood's most valuable forms of generosity. Money can solve an immediate problem, but access can redirect an entire career. Michael B. Jordan understood that once someone finally opens the door for you, one of the most meaningful things you can do with success is hold that door open for whoever comes next. Kerry Washington. Kerry Washington became a household name as Olivia Pope on Scandal, but her commitment to helping others began long before television fame. As a teenager, Washington worked as a peer educator, performing educational sketches in schools and community centers about issues including safe sex, depression, substance use, and reproductive health. Years later, with a much larger platform, she continued directing attention toward education and underserved communities. One of her most significant contributions came in 2023 when Washington established the $1 million Earl and Valerie Washington Endowed Scholarship at George Washington University, honoring her parents. The fund provides need-based financial assistance to undergraduate students, the same university Washington herself attended with financial aid. During her return to campus, she also held a masterclass and spent time interacting directly with students. Her community involvement extends beyond college tuition. Washington has supported programs providing necessities such as clothing and diapers to families experiencing poverty. Through her Vision into Power initiative, she has also offered resources including funding, mentorship, media training, and storytelling support to grassroots organizations, particularly those led by women of color. What makes Washington's generosity meaningful is the connection between her own journey and the opportunities she creates. She remembers being a student who benefited from financial assistance. Now she can make that possibility available to someone else. Hollywood gave Kerry Washington visibility, but she turned visibility into access. Sometimes changing a life does not require knowing whose life you changed. A scholarship may simply allow an unknown student to remain in the classroom long enough to discover who they were capable of becoming. Anthony Mackie. Anthony Mackie may carry Captain America's shield on screen, but some of his most practical work has taken place back home in New Orleans. Long before Marvel fame, Mackie grew up learning construction skills from his father and uncle. Decades later, after Hurricane Ida left families across the Gulf Coast struggling with damaged homes, those roots became part of an extraordinary community effort. Mackie partnered with GAF Rebuilding Together New Orleans and other organizations on an initiative to repair or replace hundreds of storm-damaged roofs. The project initially targeted 150 homes in New Orleans' 7th Ward, where some residents had been forced to live beneath temporary blue tarps because permanent repairs were financially out of reach. Mackie's participation was not limited to posing beside volunteers. In September 2023, he worked alongside roofing trainees at the home of Joe Capers, an 81-year-old veteran whose attempts to obtain government assistance had reportedly been unsuccessful. Capers received a secure new roof, and the project marked the program's 500th repair in the Gulf region. The initiative also looked beyond immediate repairs. Mackie supported the GAF Roofing Academy, which provides practical training that can help residents develop skills leading to employment. He has additionally returned to Warren Easton High School, his former school, for activities involving local students. There is something fitting about that story. Hollywood made Mackie a fictional superhero, but New Orleans gave him the skills and community that came first. For families living beneath damaged roofs, heroism did not require a shield. It meant someone returning home and helping make that home safe again. Regina King. Regina King has spent decades proving her versatility, moving from 227 and Jerry Maguire to Watchmen, directing, producing, and an Academy Award-winning performance in If Beale Street Could Talk. But beyond the awards, King has repeatedly used her position to expand opportunities for people who might otherwise struggle to enter the rooms where futures are decided. One of the causes highlighted in the transcript is the I Have a Dream Foundation, Los Angeles, which supports students from underserved communities through academic, emotional, and financial assistance designed to help them reach higher education. King did more than associate her name with the organization. She advocated publicly and participated in fundraising efforts benefiting its students. Her commitment to opportunity also reached directly into Hollywood. While accepting a Golden Globe in 2019, King publicly pledged that projects she produced would aim for 50% women in their workforce, while challenging others with industry power to make similar commitments. The message was significant because representation becomes meaningful only when promises translate into actual jobs. Alongside her sister, King also co-founded Royal Ties Productions, developing projects while creating additional space for voices and perspectives that entertainment has historically overlooked. Her approach to kindness, therefore, looks different from writing one enormous charity check. It appears through fundraising, mentoring, hiring decisions, and using influence to make previously inaccessible opportunities possible. Regina King's example asks an important question. Once you finally earn a seat at the table, do you simply protect it, or do you pull out another chair for somebody who has spent years waiting outside the room? John Boyega. John Boyega became internationally famous as Finn in the Star Wars sequel trilogy, but one of the warmest stories attached to his name happened far away from a movie premiere. In 2016, 5-year-old Daniel Bell, who was being treated for a brain tumor at the Royal London Hospital, wished to meet Finn. Boyega did more than simply visit. He arrived dressed as the character Daniel admired, turning an ordinary hospital day into something unforgettable. The story became even more touching because Daniel wanted his hero's help delivering toys to other sick children. Boyega stayed in character, posed for photographs, carried lightsabers, and helped Daniel complete his mission. For a performer surrounded by blockbuster publicity, this was a remarkably personal use of fame, making one child feel powerful during an incredibly difficult period. Boyega's compassion has also extended beyond hospital visits. He participated in a Star Wars-themed event at Demelza Hospice Care for Children, spending time with children, relatives, and staff. He later used his position in entertainment to create opportunities through the Create Next film project, working with Converse to support 5 emerging black filmmakers in London with funding and mentorship. There is also a deeply personal dimension to his community involvement. Boyega supported the Damilola Taylor Trust, established in memory of his childhood friend, and invited Damilola's father to the London premiere of The Force Awakens. Boyega's story proves that kindness can operate on completely different scales. Sometimes it means helping tomorrow's filmmaker find an opportunity. Sometimes it means putting the costume back on because somewhere in a hospital room, a 5-year-old child still believes heroes are real. Kevin Hart. Kevin Hart's career took him from Philadelphia comedy clubs to sold-out arenas and blockbuster movies, but success did not erase his connection to the city and circumstances that shaped him. Education in particular became one of the areas where Hart chose to invest significant resources, helping students whose ambitions could otherwise be limited by financial circumstances. In 2015, Hart donated $100,000 to the United Negro College Fund, supporting scholarships for students attending historically black colleges and universities. He also partnered with UNCF and KIPP on a scholarship initiative totaling $600,000, helping 18 students from several cities attend HBCUs. These were not symbolic gestures. For students facing tuition costs, financial assistance could determine whether college remained a possibility. Hart has repeatedly brought that support home to Philadelphia. In 2013, he donated approximately $250,000 to educational causes in the city, including funding for computers and improvements benefiting local schools and recreation programs. His help from the Hart charity has continued emphasizing education and opportunities for young people. His philanthropy has not been limited to classrooms. The transcript also highlights support for disaster relief efforts and organizations including Make-A-Wish and the Boys and Girls Clubs. During Hurricane Harvey, Hart publicly encouraged fellow celebrities to contribute while making a donation himself. The numbers are impressive, but their significance lies in what they can create: computers inside classrooms, tuition assistance, and opportunities that might otherwise disappear. Kevin Hart built his career by making millions of people laugh. Yet for the students whose education became more attainable because someone helped cover the cost, his most meaningful contribution may have had nothing to do with comedy at all. Jeffrey Wright. Jeffrey Wright is known for performances filled with intelligence and restraint, from Basquiat and Angels in America to Westworld and American Fiction. Yet his work outside Hollywood has taken him thousands of miles from movie sets, particularly to Sierra Leone, where he became involved in economic development and community rebuilding. Wright initially traveled to the country after its devastating civil war and became involved in gold mining. But what began as a business venture developed into something broader. Through the Taya Peace Foundation, Wright supported communities around the mining region with projects involving clean water, education, agriculture, and infrastructure. One important project involved helping construct a roughly 3-mile road connecting villages to larger transportation networks. That might sound modest compared with Hollywood-sized donations, but for isolated communities, a usable road can affect access to markets, schools, healthcare, and employment. The foundation also supported wells and agricultural initiatives intended to strengthen local livelihoods. Wright's involvement became particularly important during the 2014 Ebola crisis. According to the transcript, he helped support efforts to provide protective equipment, sanitation materials, and medical supplies, as Sierra Leone faced one of the most frightening public health emergencies in its history. His story is unusual because philanthropy and business were intertwined, and that complexity should not be hidden. What matters for this subject is the documented community infrastructure and humanitarian support associated with his involvement. Jeffrey Wright's example reminds us that kindness does not always arrive as a dramatic Hollywood moment. Sometimes it looks like a road, a well, medical supplies, or practical infrastructure that continues serving people long after the cameras have disappeared. Sidney Poitier. Sidney Poitier did more than change Hollywood. He carried the weight of representation during an era when black actors were routinely denied meaningful roles, and he understood that his success existed alongside a much larger struggle for dignity and equality. When he became the first black man to win the Academy Award for Best Actor in 1964, his achievement represented far more than one extraordinary performance. Away from the screen, Poitier participated in the civil rights movement. In 1964, he and Harry Belafonte traveled to Mississippi, carrying funds to support civil rights workers during Freedom Summer. Their journey was dangerous. According to accounts referenced in the transcript, they were pursued and threatened by members of the Ku Klux Klan before reaching their destination. Poitier also supported organizations including the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee and later the Children's Defense Fund. His influence extended into Hollywood through mentorship and the example he provided for black performers entering an industry that had offered his generation painfully few opportunities. That legacy became especially visible through the actors who followed him. Denzel Washington repeatedly acknowledged Poitier's importance, and generations of black performers benefited from barriers Poitier helped weaken simply by refusing roles he believed reinforced degrading stereotypes. Poitier died in 2022 at age 94, leaving behind a career that stretched from The Defiant Ones and A Raisin in the Sun to In the Heat of the Night and Guess Who's Coming to Dinner. His kindness cannot be separated from his courage. Sidney Poitier helped others not only through charitable actions, but by walking through doors that had been closed for generations and making sure they did not completely close behind him. Behind every unforgettable performance, every award, and every Hollywood success story, these remarkable black actors proved that true greatness reaches far beyond the screen. From Denzel Washington, quietly opening doors for young talent, and Chadwick Boseman inspiring children during his own private battle to Tyler Perry, helping struggling families, and Sidney Poitier standing for equality. When doing so required extraordinary courage, their actions left an impact no box office number can measure. But which story touched you the most, and who do you believe deserves to be remembered as one of Hollywood's kindest black actors? Share your choice in the comments. Subscribe to Golden Black Legends for more powerful stories, celebrating the lives, generosity, and enduring legacies of black icons.